All right, welcome back to Syncrets To Success, the podcast. I am Fingaz, Dafingaz, a composer, music producer, diving in on sync and trailer music. And this is day 7 of the Syncrets To Success podcast. As I mentioned on day 1, I'm trying to do 30 days nonstop of introducing sync gems to you in this podcast. So on day 7 today, we're going to dive into the crucial art of negotiating sync deals, or at least understanding what terms to be on the lookout for in sync deals. As composers, understanding the negotiation process and essential contract terms is vital to protect our rights and secure fair compensation for our music. So let's start by exploring the key negotiation points in sync licensing agreements. These agreements are the foundation of our collaboration with music supervisors, production companies, and it should be essential to be well informed about their intricacies. So let's start with sync fees, FEES, also known as the synchronization fee. This is the upfront payment for the use of our music and visual content. Negotiating a sync fee involves considering factors such as the type of project, the budget, the prominence of our music in the scene, and the importance to strike a balance between the value of our music and the client's budget. I like to consider this term, I forgot where I heard it, but DUE, do, it's an acronym. The D stands for duration. How long is your music going to be used in the scene? The U stands for usage. How is your music used in the scene? Is it background music? Is it, a singer is singing the song on set? Are you performing the song? Is it the theme song of the show? And then E, exclusivity. Is this song exclusive to this project? Is it exclusive to the library? That could also help determine the fee that you can either negotiate or the fee that your library can negotiate for you on your behalf. Beyond sync fees, backend royalties also play a significant role in negotiations. These royalties are earned when our music is publicly performed, broadcast, or distributed. Understanding the terms of backend royalties is essential to ensure that we receive fair compensation for our compositions in the long run. For the most part, you actually can't negotiate back-end royalties for your PRO. Maybe if it's a movie or things like that, and you have a prominent placement, if it's a theme show thing, maybe you can negotiate back-end royalties on the project of the overall film or TV show. But for your PRO, the calculations for royalties on that stuff is so convoluted that I don't even think the PRO people understand it. It's like an algorithm, and they determine, what percentage of a cent that you get for a certain placement. So it gets weird trying to figure out how to calculate these things. But the one thing that you can figure out is a sync fee, because that's usually written in stone. Usually libraries might say, hey, this is $50,000 all in. So you want to understand what that term means. Typically it means it could be split between the library getting 50% and you get 50%. So if you see $50,000 all in, it could be 25 for them, 25 for you. It could be a little bit less. It could be a quarter if there's more people involved, but you want to make sure you understand these terms. So you want to define the scope and duration of the license to make sure you understand that aspect of the sync deal. So if you have a song that is going to be placed in a scene, is it exclusive to this project? If so, for how long? Is it only for a theatrical run? Is it for a commercial? Can this song only be used in this commercial and not used in any other commercial? Is it only for a car commercial? So if you wrote a song that gets synced in a car commercial, can that song not be used in another car commercial for 2 years? There are policies and there are clauses in contracts that state things like that. You want to make sure you understand those limitations of your song and make sure you have an accurate way of tracking that song that you wrote that landed in that car commercial cannot be used in another car commercial for 2 years, but it can be used in, candy commercial or whatever the case is. So you want to define the scope and duration of the license. You want to make sure that you specify where and how your music will be used, whether it's limited to a specific region or media platform, and how long the license will be valid. You want to clarify these terms with either the library or the placement to ensure that your music is used properly and appropriately within your control. One thing I've seen a little bit is I try to avoid limiting the libraries that I work with as far as placements. So if I have music with them, a lot of times they'll reach out to you if they're working on a placement for a beer company or an alcohol company, or maybe like a sex product campaign, and they might ask you, hey, is it okay to pitch your music for this? But in some cases, the agreement you sign with them will say that they have free reign to pitch your music for whatever opportunities. They have sort of a limited power of attorney to pitch your music to whatever opportunities come their way. If they want, just for morale or moral, whatever the word is, they might reach out to you to confirm like, hey, we're looking at this placement for this alcohol campaign. It's $100,000. Are you interested? And you can say yes or no. But I try to limit what I would say no to, especially starting out with a new library. So you might have your own internal limitations. You might say, hey, I don't want any of those ads or advertising, but try to avoid saying no as much as possible. So protecting our rights as composers is of utmost importance in negotiations. We want to retain ownership of the master publishing rights because that's where a lot of those back-end payments come in, as I mentioned in day one. This also allows us to license the music for other opportunities, and we can retain creative control over our compositions. So the negotiation process is an opportunity for clear communication between us and our clients, and not necessarily negotiation, just having communication, talking to your partners, your music supervisors, your libraries that you're working with, and say, hey, we have this verbal agreement, just want to make sure this, and this. But every library that I work with, even if it starts off with a verbal agreement, eventually it gets into written form. You want to have a written agreement so you have a paper that you can refer to, and then you want to keep that somewhere in your files on your computer, maybe in the cloud also, so you have access to it. So you say, hey, I forgot how I'm supposed to do this, how I'm supposed to submit something, how I'm supposed to label something. You can refer back to the agreement. And it's always best to have written agreements that detail all the terms and conditions to avoid misunderstandings later on. If you have any questions, maybe you can call them on a call or something like that. I like to keep things in written form. A lot of people respond quicker just in text, email, things like that. So, and then you also have a record. So you can say, hey, what did they say when I asked them this question? You can go back and look it up by text. As composers, our music is our livelihood. And I say composers, if you are a rapper, if you are a producer, if you are a songwriter, if you are a beat maker, I bundle all of that under composers. Our music is our livelihood, and negotiating, understanding these sync deals is a great way to ensure that our work is appropriately compensated and respected. By understanding the negotiation process and advocating for our rights, understanding the key terms that are in these agreements, we can build fruitful and long-lasting relationships in the sync licensing industry. That ends day 7 of Syncrets To Success, the podcast. This has been Marcus DeFingaz, DaFingaz, and I will see you tomorrow on day 8. All right. Peace.